Defeated political parties typically go through 4 phases in reaction. First, we weren't really defeated. The other guys cheated. They had too much money. Their candidate was too charismatic. The second phase is, okay, we were defeated, but only because the voters are morons. The third phase is, well, maybe the voters aren't altogether morons, but there's nothing we can do without betraying our sacred principles. And the final phase is when you say, maybe there's something we can do.
Okay, that's the sort of general context of what happens when parties go through a bad defeat. But there must be something specific about the American experience, which is making this presidential nominee process so traumatic in the US.
Well, it all takes place against a background of extreme economic distress, the worst since the 1930s. It takes place against a second, especially intense version of this, which is Americans understand that there is going to be a tightening of the public finances to come, and some will win and some will lose, and people are moving early to make sure to protect themselves against becoming the losers. It's happening against a background of a new media culture in the United States, where increasingly the parties have their own special facts, their own alternative knowledge systems, and the Republicans are much more advanced down this way than Democrats, where they have a whole alternative system where they can believe the worst about their opponents and the best about themselves. And the final thing playing into this is the unresolved Republican attitude toward the Bush administration. Until Republicans can talk to themselves openly about what was right about the Bush administration and needs to be continued, and what was wrong and needs to be rethought, rather than just avoiding the whole subject, and sometimes reflexively defending everything, but most of the time not talking about it, it's going to be hard to have a process of going forward.
Despite all of this traumatic upheaval within the party and a process that, at least from the outside, looks in many cases very crazy, it looks like a credible candidate is going to emerge from this. Is it inevitable now that Mitt Romney is the candidate?
It's all but inevitable that Mitt Romney is the candidate. And I've been predicting since 2009 that he almost certainly would be the candidate, because the same things that have driven the American political process to the extremes have made it very difficult for credible alternatives to Mitt Romney to appear. So he has the whole leftover infrastructure from 2008, he has the financial resources, and he has had to face essentially one after another novelty candidate. And as the novelty candidates predictably failed, he has had a surprisingly open run to the nomination.
But it has been very difficult for him, and wounding and lots of personal attacks on him, which obviously gives some ammunition to President Obama when it becomes a straight fight between the two. Can he beat him?
Here's what Mitt Romney brings to the race. He brings an extraordinary reputation for competence, and Americans have a great hunger for that. He brings economic knowledge and an ability to point to real accomplishments in the private sector. He's also his healthcare plan in Massachusetts, which has been so controversial in the Republican primaries, becomes a feature, not a bug, in the general election, when the president is going to accuse him of wanting to get rid of healthcare coverage for everybody, and he can say, "Hey, you got your idea from me. I did it before you did it." I think beyond all of that, American elections are driven very much by economic fundamentals, and the real question here is not Romney versus Obama. The question is, does the pace of recovery, which we're beginning to have, translate soon enough into real benefits to real people to convince them that what they've suffered over the past 3 years was unavoidable, necessary, and is leading to improvement? Or do they look back on the Obama years as a wasted, blighted time, and they hunger for something new?